Hello friends, and welcome to this space. It is my belief that you are well as I am here, and I strongly believe that there is something that you and I can learn from each other. And so I want us today to discuss something on mental wellness. It has been noted in the past few months, past few years, in the recent past, that many people have developed or have been diagnosed and found to have issues with their mental health. It is important for us to have a discussion on this matter because this is a matter that affects millions of people around the world, and it affects many people in our families, in our homes, in our communities, and in our churches. And therefore, I strongly believe it is an area that deserves our attention and concern. And so today, I just want us to discuss the whole concept of mental health so that we are able to know exactly what it is, what it is all about, how is it affecting us, and how best can we handle it if you are affected, a friend is affected, a family member is affected, and things of that kind. Perhaps the best way to begin is to be able to understand exactly what it means. What is mental health? And to begin, I would say that we need to draw a parallel between physical health and mental health. Perhaps it's time that we looked at health holistically, in the sense that a human is tripartite in nature. A human is a spirit equipped with a soul and living in a body. And therefore, for you to be entirely regarded as healthy, all the three aspects of your life must be considered. Therefore, you must be healthy physically. That means you must not have pains in your body. That means you must not have challenges with any organs of your body. That means every part of you must be functioning effectively. And so that is about physical health. If you have an injury in any part of your body, you have an issue in one of your organs that is not functioning well, it means you have an issue with your physical health which needs the attention of a doctor. Similarly, if you have an issue with your spiritual health, perhaps you may need to have it addressed by specialists concerned with spiritual health of people, which I would suggest you have the attention of spiritual leaders around the area you come from. Similarly, on the same note, you also need to have assurance that your mental health is assured. So what do we understand by mental health? What causes a person to have issues with their mental health? One of the things that I believe is strongly important for any one of us to consider is the fact that mental illness is not caused by evil spirits or supernatural power, as many people would want to believe. Some people believe that mental illness is untreatable, which is far from the truth. Others believe that it is not possible to have, this thing sorted out when you have it. Some people believe and lack the willpower in understanding exactly what causes mental illness, and so they have challenges. Others believe that marriage, this is an interesting one, can cure mental illness. I do not know how that really works out. On the contrary, I think marriage has been part of the things that have caused an upsurge, not entirely, but it contributes in a way. And lastly, I have heard people say that if you have issues with your mental health, you do not have to go to hospital. You do not have, you belong to the hospital entirely, that you should be taken hold of and kept in a hospital for the rest of your life, which is really not the point. I have also seen some say that mental health problems are only common among illiterate people, which is far from the truth. Mental illness, unlike physical illness, is really, is actually in the mind of a person. Mental illness affects the mind of the person. And so, if you have challenges with your mental health, it actually means you have issues with your thinking. It actually means you have issues with the way you process cognitively and the way you understand challenges and issues like that. I'll give you the World Health Organization definition of what we call mental health. So mental health is a state of well-being in which an individual realizes his or her own abilities and can cope with normal stresses of life and can work productively and fruitfully and make a positive contribution in his or her own community. So it means that a mentally healthy person can do a number of things. Number one, a mentally healthy person can think clearly. A mentally healthy person has the capacity to think clearly. I can't tell you how many people around us have a problem with clouded thoughts, irregular thought patterns, unclear way of thinking. Number two, a mentally healthy person can enjoy good relationships with others. And underline the word good, because you can have relationships which are not good with people. But if you are a mentally healthy person, you will have the capacity to enjoy good relationships with others. That means you have a reasonable level of understanding with people, and you're able to have good communication and living well in relationship with others around us. Number three, a mentally healthy person has the capacity to cope with what I would call normal stresses of life. Why do I say this? Because life has different levels of stress. There is what we would consider to be normal. It falls within the range of what is considered to be within the norm of common stresses in life. Anybody who has good mental health should be able to cope with those normal stresses of life. There are stresses in life that go beyond the norm to the levels of what we would consider as trauma, to the levels that it will take external intervention to help the person to cope with those kind of stresses. That is not what we are talking about. A person who is mentally healthy should have the capacity to handle ordinary and normal stresses of life. And finally, number four, a person who has good mental health should be able to work productively and make a positive contribution in their community. That means you do not have anything that stops you from functioning effectively with people around you, so that you can be able to make a positive contribution in the community and be able to be a resourceful and a useful member of the society, just like everybody else. Now, it is important to note, my friends, that mental health is not just the absence of disorder. Mental health and physical health actually go in hand. I read a journal that actually stated that most of the sicknesses we suffer physically have a direct correlation with our mental health. So that if you have pain in your back, if you have difficulty in falling asleep, if you have pain in your joints or a persistent headache or issues of that kind, there is a possibility that it could be related to a mental issue that you are having issues in processing. And therefore, mental health and physical health actually go hand in hand. Mental health is important for individuals, for family, for community, and also for national well-being. There is no health without mental health. Let me say it again. There is no health without mental health. And so, friends, I strongly believe it is time we not only visited doctors because we have issues with our physical bodies, but it's time we began to have a focus on our mental health, because it is just as important as our physical health. It is everyone's responsibility. It is your responsibility. It is my responsibility. It is everyone's responsibility to take care of each other's mental health. Now, let me talk a little bit about mental disorders. Mental disorders, and as the word actually goes, it is from two words, dis and order. There is something that is actually out of order. It is against the normal order. That's why we call it disorder. And a person's ability to think, feel, and behave. The person's ability to think, the person's ability to feel, and behave within what is regarded to be within order is disrupted. And therefore, it becomes a disorder. This, in turn, will actually affect relationships, and it will also affect work. For example, we have what we call common mental disorders that affect people around us. One of the most common one is what we call depressive disorder. Depressive disorder. People commonly call it depression. Now, this is a condition where somebody is continuously sad, continuously experiencing moodiness, and never seeing anything positive and anything going well for them in life. This is what we call depressive disorder. We also have another one called anxiety disorder, which is characterized by abnormal fear and worry, where a person has issues with fearing things that actually do not really exist, or they could be legitimate fears but expressed in levels which are beyond what is normal. People who have anxiety disorders are always having fears about what is likely to happen. They are always worried that something wrong might crop up, and therefore they have anxiety all the time. We have another condition which we call somatic disorders, which actually express in bodily symptoms. You have headaches here, pains here, and it actually expresses itself in difficult body symptoms that do not allow you to live a comfortable and a normal life. Friends, it is important also for us to be able to understand that we have what we call severe mental disorders. Those ones were common mental disorders, and I mentioned three of them: depressive disorders, anxiety disorders, and somatic disorders. Now, let's talk about severe mental disorder. Severe, and the word is severe, meaning it is on a level that is considered serious, more than what I mentioned before. We have people who have a condition called psychosis. This is something, it's a condition that affects people, and this is characterized mainly by persons hearing voices in their heads. These voices do not exist in reality, but they keep hearing voices of either people or things or animals, and they hear those voices in their heads. We also have another characteristic of psychosis where a person sees the things. For example, somebody can be seated in a room with other people and he begins to say, look, they are chasing me, they are coming after me, and everybody else cannot see anything, but this person here sees something that everybody else cannot see. That is a characteristic of psychosis. You see things, you see people, and nobody else sees them, but you see them alone in your mind. Then the third characteristic of psychosis is feeling things on the skin. You realize that a person who is suffering from psychosis begins to feel movements, strange movements on their skin, as if there is something on them. And so they keep scratching, they keep trying to remove the thing that is stressing their skin, and they seem to be disturbed by something that nobody else can see, but they can feel it in their skin. Number 4 on psychosis, a characteristic that affects people who have suffered this level of mental disorder is they have unreal beliefs. They have unreal beliefs. They believe somebody is after them, somebody wants to harm them. They do not trust people. They have unreal beliefs. They cannot sleep at night because they believe they will be attacked by strange creatures. And so they live their lives continuously disturbed and obviously unwell. Lastly, these people exhibit mood disorders. Mood disorders. They experience abnormal mood changes. This minute they are very happy and excited, full of energy, and the next minute they have shifted to the exact opposite, and it becomes a real problem for those around them. Now, it is important for us to also understand that having mental health disorders is something different from what we would call mental disability. Because we have people among us who have mental disability, or what we call intellectual disability. This is mainly mental disability is a problem that you would easily tell because, number one, it affects the cognitive functioning of the person, such that it is below what would be considered as normal, such that a person who is an adult has the mind of a child. And most of the times, mental disability begins from the onset of mental disability is mostly from under the age of 18 years. So mental disability and mental disorders are two entirely different things, and it is important for people to be able to understand so that the stigma is taken away and so that people are free to find help where need is. We have child and adolescent mental disorders. These are mainly exhibited by children and adolescents, and most of them include intellectual development disability, which we call IDD. Others include attention deficit hyperactivity disorder, where you find a child is always trying to find ways of attracting the attention of the parent or the child minder or whoever is around them, be it a teacher, be it other children, and just making sure that everybody notices that they are there. How is this condition exhibited? You find a child is always fighting, because that is the only way he attracts the attention of the adults around them. Maybe shouting at others, maybe causing disturbance, and perhaps just finding a way of attracting the attention of the adult among them. This is what we call attention deficit hyperactivity disorder. And then we have another one called conduct disorder. Many people confuse this thing with indiscipline. Many people think this child is just indisciplined, but sometimes it's more, it goes beyond it, because there are children who, sincerely speaking, move from one mistake to another within minutes of another. And so they keep on moving from one mistake to the next, moving from one mistake to the next, until people begin to think this person is just plain indisciplined. But it is important for teachers especially, and parents at home, to understand that there is a condition that affects children and adolescents, which is called conduct disorder. And so, friends, I just say this in order to raise awareness out there that we have challenges that affect people. We have challenges that affect children. We have challenges that affect young people. And it is important for us to have a focus and an understanding, so that the next time you notice something is out of the norm with a friend, out of the norm with somebody, you will be able to come in and be able to address. I have seen a rise in suicide cases. I have seen, all of us have witnessed a rise in femicide around our communities and our nation. All of us have noticed a rise in the cases of people killing their family members, people killing their boyfriends and girlfriends because they were disagreeing on something or they had issues. And many a time you ask yourself, why is this now and not like it was before? And people actually wonder why these things are beginning at a time like this. Perhaps it's time, friends, that we begin to understand that people have issues in processing issues in their minds. People have challenges in the way they perceive realities of life. And so much information is flowing, so many issues are cropping up, and sometimes people have developed mental disorders, which cause them to behave the way they behave. And therefore, it is important for us to have that understanding so that we are able to advise accordingly and to be able to understand what is going on. We have people who use or should I say abuse drugs, those who use substances. And if you study these people carefully, you will discover that there is something in their minds they are trying to fight. There is a discomfort in their cognitive function. There is a discomfort in their understanding of what is happening around them, and they are actually trying to find a solution to that problem. Many a time they abuse drugs so that their thoughts are lulled, so that they do not have to think, so that they divert their attention from the issues that are affecting them. It is actually an issue about mental health. Why are young people abusing drugs? Why are young people getting into dangerous, self-injurious behaviors? Why are people getting into issues that actually are outrightly something that we all know is injurious to their overall health. Yet they do it because they have issues with their health. Friends, let us have an understanding about this issue that is affecting us right now, so that we are able to help our children, so that we are able to help our parents, so that we are able to help our communities, and so that we can together build a healthy society and a healthy nation. In the next discussion, we will proceed with the factors affecting mental health. We will discuss the causes of these issues affecting mental health of people around us, and we should be able to have a clearer and a deeper understanding of what needs to be done in order to help people, including getting medication as well as getting psychological assistance, probably through psychosocial help and even counseling, and so that people can be assisted in our communities. From us here, we wish you well, and we pray and trust that you... So, friends, I sincerely hope that you will have an understanding of the whole concept of mental health, so that we are equipped with the capacity to help others, and so that we can begin with ourselves, our family, our society, and of course to the entire nation. Remember, your health is your wealth. God bless you.